Okay, so you ready to kind of like supercharge your English reading, huh? Like really get in there and amp up those skills?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're diving deep today, going deep on this guide
Mm-hmm.
called How to Improve English Reading Skills.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Influent.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think you're going to dig this. I mean, who doesn't want to read faster, understand more, but also like actually enjoy it, right?
Right.
Not just, work through it. This guide's got some really interesting stuff in it. Like, get this. They actually say ditching those reading apps might be a good idea. And then, get ready for this, the power of $3 books. Intrigued. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I think what I really appreciated about this guide is it's not just like techniques and tips and tricks. It's like they understand that your mindset, like how you approach reading, plays a huge role in how much you actually get out of it. It
Yeah.
really starts with finding that genuine excitement for reading. Like, remember back when you were a kid and like a good book could just totally transport you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like rediscovering that feeling.
Totally. That's actually their first big step.
Right.
Choosing material you actually enjoy. Like, forget about slogging through stuff that's boring you to tears.
Right.
Think about the topics that make your ears perk up in conversation. What are you already passionate about?
Yeah, because it's really like anything else you want to get good at. If you're not engaged, if you're not interested, your brain's just not going to retain that information as well. There's a whole field of study actually on this about how our emotions, our interests directly impact learning.
So instead of, I don't know, forcing yourself to read those super dense articles about I don't know, the economy or something.
Right.
If that's not your thing,
Yeah.
maybe you dive into a biography about somebody who totally fascinates you.
Yeah.
Or if you're a fiction fan, think about what kind of movie you would never miss. Chances are there's a whole genre of books out there ready to just hook you in, The guide even suggests checking out bestseller lists as a quality indicator.
Right.
Because it's if a book has captured the attention of millions of people, there's probably something special about it.
Exactly. And that kind of leads perfectly into step 2, where this guide throws down a little bit of a challenge and say, books over blogs. I know. Free articles are everywhere these days, right? But the guide makes a really strong case for why books are the way to go if you're serious about upping your reading game.
I was surprised by this too, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Because there's something about holding a physical book, turning those pages, really immersing yourself in that world.
Yes.
It's just different than scrolling through an article online, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's the difference between, fast food and a home-cooked meal. Sure, both can fill you up, but one is going to nourish you on a much deeper level. And that's kind of what we're going for here, right? Real lasting improvement in your English reading abilities.
Absolutely. It's like building a strong foundation for your language skills, brick by brick. And, this guide, they actually lay out 5 really compelling reasons why books are such powerful building blocks. We've touched on the quality of the writing and the richer vocabulary, but what else kind of stood out to you?
Well, the guide also emphasizes the importance of focus and minimizing distractions. Think about your typical online reading experience.
Absolutely.
You've got ads popping up, notifications buzzing, links tempting you to click away. It's like a recipe for mental fragmentation.
Tell me about it. It's like trying to read a book while juggling flaming torches and riding a unicycle. No wonder I can never remember what I just read online.
Right. But with a book,
Yeah.
you can create a little sanctuary for yourself, a space where you can truly disconnect from all the digital chaos and just get lost in the words. And that leads to a much deeper level of comprehension and retention.
Yeah, it's true.
The guide actually mentions a study
Oh, wow.
where participants who read on paper scored significantly higher on reading comprehension tests compared to those who read the same text on a screen.
That makes so much sense. It's like the difference between listening to a song with headphones on and having it faintly in the background while you're trying to have a conversation. You're just not going to absorb it the same way.
Right. And another point the guide makes is about affordability. Now, I know books can be expensive,
Yeah.
but you can find incredible deals on digital books.
Right.
I mean, think about it. For the price of a latte, you can have access to a whole world of knowledge and stories.
And don't forget the convenience factor, too. With the Kindle app, you've basically got an entire library in your pocket.
Yeah.
You can read anytime, anywhere, and you never have to worry about lugging around a heavy book.
Plus, with digital books,
Oh,
you can adjust the font size, highlight passages, even look up words instantly with the built-in dictionary.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like having a personalized reading assistant right at your fingertips.
So you're telling me I can ditch the bulky dictionary and stop interrupting my flow every time I come across a word I don't know.
Exactly.
Sign me up.
And speaking of flow, let's move on to step 3, which is all about building a consistent reading habit.
Okay.
I know what you're thinking.
Uh-oh.
Easier said than done, right?
Right.
Life gets busy. We've got a million things vying for our attention. But the guide offers some really practical advice
Okay.
for making reading a non-negotiable part of your routine.
Okay, I'm all ears. Because honestly, some days it feels like the only thing I'm consistently reading are like grocery lists and work emails.
Right. Well, the first tip is deceptively simple. Carry your reading material everywhere.
Okay.
This sounds obvious.
Yeah.
But think about all those little pockets of downtime we have throughout the day. Waiting in line, commuting, even just those few minutes before a meeting starts.
Right.
Instead of mindlessly scrolling through your phone, you could be squeezing in a few pages of a good book.
Oh, I love that. It's like turning those dead zones into like mini adventures for your mind.
Right.
And it doesn't even have to be like a huge chunk of time.
Mm-hmm.
Even 10 or 15 minutes here and there can really add up over time.
Exactly. And if you find you need like a longer stretch of uninterrupted reading time, schedule it in, just like you would any other important appointment. Whether it's 30 minutes before bed or an hour on your lunch break, treat it as sacred time
Yeah.
that you fiercely protect.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a little more optimistic about this whole habit building thing.
Good.
But what about those days when even 10 minutes feels impossible?
Well, that's where step 4 comes in.
Yeah.
And this one might just blow your mind.
Yeah.
The guide suggests replacing your native language reading with English content.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me that scrolling through Instagram can actually help me improve my English reading skills? This, I gotta hear.
Think about it. Instead of following those meme accounts in your native language, why not switch to English language ones?
Okay.
You're already spending the time scrolling, so you might as well make it work for you.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's not just social media, right?
Yeah.
The guide mentioned other examples like online forums, news websites, even just doing your Google searches in English.
Exactly. It's about creating a constant stream of English input. Surrounding yourself with the language and making it an integral part of your daily life, you're essentially training your brain to think in English, which is a game changer for fluency.
So instead of just passively consuming content, I'm like actively engaging with the language
Right.
and reinforcing those neural pathways. I like it. But what about those moments when I just want to like relax and escape into a story without feeling like I'm studying?
That's where step 5 comes in, and this one is all about giving yourself permission to relax and ditch those anxieties about reading correctly. There's this misconception that there's only one right way to read. But the truth is, your reading style can and should vary, depending on the material and even your mood.
You mean I don't have to like meticulously analyze every sentence and look up every word I don't know?
Nope.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to get swept away by the story, like jumping into a refreshing pool on a hot day.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, good.
Sometimes it's about pure enjoyment. Other times it's about deep comprehension and vocabulary acquisition. The key is to be flexible and find what works best for you in each situation.
So some days I might like breeze through a page turner just to see what happens next. While other days I might like savor each sentence of a more challenging text, taking notes and really digging into the nuances of the language.
Exactly. And that's perfectly fine. The guide encourages you to experiment, to play with different reading styles, and to find what brings you the most joy and the greatest learning gains.
Okay, that's a huge relief. I was starting to feel like I was doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
But now I realize that there's no wrong way as long as I'm like engaged and enjoying the process.
Exactly. And speaking of engagement, let's touch on step 6, which is all about using memory techniques to solidify vocabulary. Okay, and this is a whole topic in itself.
Right.
But the guide provides a really helpful overview of some key strategies you can use to make those new words stick.
I'm actually really curious about this because I have a terrible habit of reading a word, thinking, oh, that's interesting, and then promptly forgetting it 5 minutes later.
Right. Well, one technique that's really effective, especially for visual learners, is creating mental images for words.
Okay.
For example, if you're trying to remember the word serendipity,
Okay.
you might picture yourself stumbling upon a hidden treasure chest while strolling through a forest. The more vivid and engaging the image, the more likely you are to remember the word.
Oh, I like that. It's like turning vocabulary into a mini movie in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you could even like incorporate other senses into the image, like the smell of the forest or the sound of birds singing.
Exactly. The more senses you engage, the stronger the memory will be.
Okay, that's one technique down.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other ways to like give our vocabulary a boost?
Well, another classic technique is using flashcards. You can write the word on one side and the definition on the other,
Yeah.
and then quiz yourself regularly. Or you can use digital flashcard apps, which often include features like spaced repetition,
Mm.
which helps to optimize your learning.
Flashcards are great because they're so portable and you can use them anytime, anywhere. And speaking of anytime, anywhere, let's move on to step 7,
Okay.
which is especially relevant for our intermediate and advanced listeners out there. This step is all about diversifying your reading diet.
It's like with food, if you only eat the same few things over and over again, you're going to miss out on essential nutrients.
Right.
Same goes for reading. If you only stick to one genre or author, you're limiting your exposure to new vocabulary and writing styles.
So if you've been sticking to, let's say, historical fiction,
Mhm.
maybe try branching out into science fiction or fantasy. Or if you're a nonfiction buff, why not dip your toes into the world of poetry or even graphic novels?
Exactly. It's all about challenging yourself and keeping things interesting.
Yeah.
Think of it as cross-training for your brain.
Mm,
You might even discover a whole new passion in the process.
I love that analogy. It's like pushing yourself to try a new workout class at the gym.
Yeah.
You might be a little intimidated at first, but then you realize you're stronger and more capable than you thought.
And who knows, you might even find that you enjoy it more than your usual routine.
Hey.
The same goes for reading. Stepping outside your comfort zone can lead to some incredible discoveries.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, from choosing the right material to building consistent habits and even using memory techniques to solidify vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a real eye-opener for me, and I hope our listener is feeling inspired to take their English reading skills to the next level.
Me too. And before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a little challenge.
Okay.
What's one book you've been meaning to read but haven't gotten around to? Maybe it's a
Mhm.
classic you've always wanted to tackle,
Hmm.
or a new release that's been generating a lot of buzz.
Right.
Whatever it is, I encourage you to make it a priority and dive in.
I love that. It's like giving yourself permission to indulge in a little literary adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, maybe this will be the book that sparks a lifelong love of reading in English.
Exactly. And remember, even small, consistent steps can lead to incredible results over time.
So true.
So don't get discouraged if you don't see progress overnight. Just keep showing up, keep reading, and keep enjoying the journey.
To our awesome listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. There's a whole community of English language learners out there who are cheering you on. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep having fun with it.